a series where I'm going to be talking about my Miss India journey while doing my makeup. Makeup and pageantry sort of go hand in hand, but years ago when I had applied for Miss India, I didn't know that because they had this round called the no makeup round or something, like it was supposed to be non-glamorous round, and I thought that no makeup means no makeup, and I absolutely went without makeup on the stage. And while I was walking on that stage, we also had some Q&A sessions. Like they would make us stop and then they would ask us some questions because I had totally showed up last moment and without preparation. If you are applying to Miss India and you plan to be anything but yourself, make sure that you're a really good actor, because it means that you'll really have to master lying. I don't think I was that great an actor or a liar, and therefore the only way for me to be on the stage was just be myself. And it just so happened that who I was as a person was also how they want, like, you know, the good values that your mom has taught you growing up, kind of synchronized with what a beauty queen is expected to be, like all the good things, all the good virtues that are expected out of her. And I didn't really have to pretend a lot, even though I'm sure every now and then some performative, like, you know, you get nervous in front of the camera, so like you're not always natural. But when it came to expressing my thoughts, all I had to do was be myself, and it usually was the right answer. Or if not, then it was delivered confidently enough for them to believe that it was the right answer. I just applied a darker concealer on my under eyes. It would have typically been a bronzer color for me. Then did my foundation, and now I'm doing a brightening concealer on my under eye again. And I'm doing this because I saw this TikTok makeup trick. This girl had applied a bronzer for her under eyes. It seemed to have worked for them, so I'm gonna see if it works for me. I decided to not only reflect on my Miss India journey and talk about how I got there, what I learned from there, all the things that I probably could have done better, or things that were different back then versus now, and then relate it to some of the skills that girls that are applying this year could find handy. Like knowing how to do your own hair and makeup is an essential skill. I was even sent to an academy to learn whatever the beauty standards of 2015 were, which are quite different, and I have a video recorded with my sister where we kind of touch upon that a little. So this is going to be a series where I not only talk about my journey, but also things that I learned along the way, things that are applicable to the girls that are applying even today, and things that even girls who are not applying to pageantry can learn from by just watching as I do my makeup. So I was the first runner-up in Miss Delhi, hadn't won, but I was preparing to apply for the full, like the Miss India national pageant. I ended up applying because I had multiple groups of people that told me to apply from different walks of my life. Some were from my office. Even my mom, she kind of encouraged me to just give it a shot. One, I was too shy to tell my friends that I'm applying for Miss India. It was so out of character for me that I thought that they're gonna make fun of me because I guess I was not the girl that they would expect to do pageants. When I suddenly decided to do it because of all these multiple encouragements that I was getting from different walks of life, I was just so shy. I just ended up not telling anyone because my thought was that if I don't get selected or if I don't make it, nobody has to know and nobody has to make fun of that one time that Aditi applied and then got rejected. So the fear of failure was quite intense even back then. In fact, that's probably one reason why I haven't done YouTube either. I wanted to start a YouTube channel since 2014 and I never did it because it felt like I was not in a place where I could talk about things or teach, like basically give people gyan, because I felt like there was just so much gyan that I myself have to collect that it's not fair if I talk about things and lecture people on what to do, what not to do. It's been 10 years since Miss India happened. There have been highs and lows that I've had. I don't necessarily want to talk about all of them, but I did pick up a lesson or two, especially because a major driving force for me in this last decade was to find things that I'm not good at and then chase after them. I did a bit of a lot of things. One of the things that I wanted to do before I got off from the camera was to summarize that life into a series of takeaways that somebody else who's in my shoes that I was 10 years ago is able to learn from. Now, there were moments where I wished somebody had walked the path that I wanted to walk. I didn't find that perfect mapping of my path. I don't think a lot of people might want to do exactly the things that I have done, but I do feel that if at all there's some overlap and something that somebody could learn or something that I could share that could make the journey less lonely, I should probably do that. And starting the channel almost around the same time when I first walked up to the stage and was asked, what do I want to do 5 to 10 years down the line? It was so natural to me to be able to say that I want to be somebody that every girl could grow up and look up to, irrespective of whatever profession she wants to be in, because it was the truth. By hiding myself out of fear of being judged and out of fear of being criticized, I'm doing disservice to my own goal of being that girl. I did actively work hard to be a better version of myself every single day. There were lessons that I learned along the way. Even my work in the entertainment sector, even the process of fetching work in the entertainment sector is like a crash course on existing, surviving, what it means to be human, the competition, really working with demand and supply. It's a relatively unorganized sector. Working in the entertainment sector is a lot like gaining all those, not necessarily the skill experiences, like you won't become a master in Excel spreadsheets, or you may not even become a master in your core domain, which is acting or selling something specifically. But what you do end up becoming really good at is understanding humans, negotiating, understanding incentive. You put someone from the entertainment sector, like someone who's kind of done it the hard way, in a corporate environment, and they would understand what it takes other people about 5 to 10 years of fighting the corporate politics. You grow up really fast is what I mean, and I mean it without any shade. Like, I feel like just the demand supply and the risk reward mechanisms of that industry are such that there's a lot to gain, but if you don't end up gaining it, then there's a high likelihood that you end up at zero. It's very binary, 0 or nothing. It's not like a corporate career where you can sort of be like, okay, I'm stuck at senior manager, I might never make it to partner level or whatever CEO level, but at least I'm a senior manager. With acting, you can be all or nothing, and there are many guest layers in between. They can require very different kind of planning or skill set, or like say if you end up committing for certain kinds of roles, then it's quite possible that even if you had a shot at something else which you had initially planned for, basically you get bucketed into certain roles and categories. So, but you understand a lot about how incentives work, finding the tree, and a lot of those other things that I will describe, like the softer side of what they can't teach you in an MBA, you kind of learn working in either the entertainment sector or even sports. I've heard has that sort of an effect. While I do my mascara, by the way, I let it get all over, because once it dries, it's very easy to just remove it with a Q-tip. So I like to really get into my lashes with the mascara, and then it might mean that it gets everywhere, which is completely fine. We're gonna scrub it off when it's dry, and I'll be telling you stories about how I applied and where I went and what did I do and what was it like, and things that, especially if you are planning to apply this year or the next year, things that you could be mindful of. Obviously, some of my advice could be very dated because this is about 10 years ago. Things have definitely changed, but at least the strategic team is the same. The execution team changes every now and then. Times have also changed a lot. Back in my days, we had fewer people online. Fake lashes was such an important part of my pageant journey. So there's this K-beauty palette that I have, which is called Wild and Free, and it's got these really nice neutral colors, a very cool toned brown to just define above the crease here. When I was a kid and I used to apply eyeshadows, I used to just take a lot of eyeshadow on my brush and then just go over my eyelid, and it used to look so silly. But eyeshadow is like a contour for your eyes, at least in terms of darkness and lightness, and you want to first see the shape that you want for your eye socket and then just darken that with a color which is kind of close to your contour color. I'm going to take butter, and butter is what I'm going to use on my eyelid. And if you see a little bit of shimmer, that's because remember the highlighter step that I had applied some highlighter here, and also a little bit on my eyelids. So just going over that. When I applied for Miss India, it was pretty much unplanned. I had thought maybe I'll apply next year, but then I ended up just jumping into it. It was not like a passion that I had since childhood. It was something that I looked up to and admired, but I just thought that I, of all people, would never be like, I wouldn't stand no chance. It was just so aspirational, that part of feeling like it was very cerebral, but at the same time, it allowed you to celebrate beauty. Turn the AC on so you might hear some background noise. When I saw the Miss World was more than just walking on the ramp in a bikini, which by the way, by the time that I joined was also removed. So I think my Miss India batch was the first batch where I didn't have to, on the finale night, walk on the ramp in a bikini. Basically, they got rid of the bikini round a year prior to mine at Miss World. And then Miss India also tracked those same changes. I felt like I do want to at least try to get a shot at being a delegate of my country. It's a very different feeling, by the way. My pageant was in China, and I remember seeing like there were these giant poles where all our flags were hoisted. I remember seeing the Indian flag amongst all those other flags, and just the sentiment. When you're in a competition like that, where there are countries against each other, it's just different, you know. Anyway, I had started my job. I was working with EY and I was really enjoying my job. I think I was doing pretty well there. At the same time, however, I felt like I could do more. Like they were trying to enforce a nice work-life balance policy, which was great, but then it meant that I had some free time to myself, and I was quite used to a college culture where after classes you would stay back and do a bunch of college activities. When I started my job, all of that stopped, right? Because college ended. So I was like, what else can I do with life? And one of the things that I thought I could do was part-time modeling, because I was tall. I was reasonably fit, but the catch was I didn't have friends or family who had modeled before. So I didn't know how to go about it, and I didn't know how to find my place in the modeling world either, and especially when I only wanted to do it as a side gig and not as a full-time thing. So like, why would an agency sign me if I want to keep my full-time job and only model on Sundays? December approached, and my company had this rule. They were working by the American cycle that time, and they had this rule that if your leaves don't expire by that American financial year, like by December, then some leaves could get carried forwarded. The remaining leaves would just expire. So I was like, okay, well, if I don't take these leaves, I'm not gonna, like, you know, it's not like I can save them for another day. And I used to enjoy going to the office so much that I used to not take these leaves anyway, and touch wood, health was fine. So I had all these leaves that were about to expire. My friends had already done their graduation trips earlier. They were in the peak of their let's make this job work setup. So I ended up finding other things to do. One of them was, let's apply to Miss India. Happened very last moment. Like, mom drove early morning. It was a misty morning in Gurgaon. She drove to, there's some Grand Hyatt in Manesar, I think, where my auditions happened. And in those auditions, a lot of things happened in those auditions as well, and maybe that's a video for another day. Just how the journey started. And back then I didn't know how to do my makeup or style my hair. Definitely did not have a curling iron at home, and I didn't even know what hair extensions were. I think I knew what lash extensions were, but I didn't have a lash glue or the means of applying them. Yeah, there was a lot that I learned and changed over the time, but that's how I found myself walking into the Miss India audition, and the rest is for later. If you are keen on hearing more about this story, there's a lot more coming up.